This team to the championship, if anyone wants that part of the action. I got him plus 4.5. The line's moved a little bit since I bet him earlier in the week.
I don't even understand what I would be getting if I was like, I want in on the action.
I know.
I don't even understand.
It's trouble. Listen, I will not gamble on preseason NFL football, but I will gamble on the Big Three playoffs. Absolutely.
All right, put me down for 5.
Sure, Jenna. No problem.
I'm out of the gambling business and calling games now.
Oh, you can't. Oh.
Zip.
That's a bad beat for me.
Time for some stories to start your morning. Big Ben is already out of the concussion protocol after a scare in practice on Wednesday. Good news, he didn't have a concussion. Reports are he expects to resume football activity soon. Nick, that was quick. Still a scare for the Steelers, though?
I'm a little confused by the timeline of this, that he's in the concussion protocol and then instantly out of it. And so, I mean, they're saying he never had a concussion. That's obviously great news. Now, I guess they preemptively put him in the protocol, which is a little odd to me. But, yeah, it's great news for the Steelers, assuming this is accurate, that he never had a concussion and that he's fine now.
And you can't make any mistakes as far as any injury dealing with the brain. And right now, football-wise, we're going to err on the side of caution. So put him in the protocol early. Did he have the symptoms of a concussion afterwards? I don't think so. That's why they removed him from the concussion. But Ben, he knows enough about pro football to realize how important it is for the proper diagnosis.
All right, to the Raiders now. John Gruden had high praise for his dancing quarterback. He said Derek Carr has mastered the Raiders' offense better than he has. Yeah, a little tongue-in-cheek, but CC, do you expect Carr to have a bounce-back year this year?
What I do expect, though, is John Gruden going to be the master of hyperbole this year, though. You're talking about putting some yeast on stuff and everything. You're going to be getting plenty of sound bites from Coach this year. All right? He's trying to impress people and everything.
Things first, I'm Jen Wolf.
This guy knows more football than me. Stop, Coach. Like, stop. Carr should bounce back, and if he doesn't bounce back, it's going to be a huge indictment.
See, what's he doing? What's this?
He's really trying to move his body in all directions in the pocket so he doesn't have one dominant leg, so he can be able to push and go all around the pocket.
Okay, I like that drill. I've never quite seen that isolated on video like that. I like
I'm here to explain all that.
Jenna said the dancing quarterback, and I looked up. I was like, he is dancing. Listen, it is going to be critically important Derek Carr has a bounce-back year, especially as long as they don't have Khalil Mack. Like, if this team doesn't have Khalil Mack, you all of a sudden have arguably the least talent on defense of any team in your division, if not your conference. So you need a huge year from your dancing quarterback.
David Johnson missed all but one game of last season with a wrist injury. He's already starting to feel left out of the discussion of the top-tier running backs. Johnson says he feels forgotten. Nick, where does Johnson rank among running backs in the league right now?
I mean, he's certainly top 5, like based on the last year we saw him. Now, he's a guy we've only seen the one great year, but it seems like it's duplicable because of the way he did it. Catching the ball out of the backfield and rushing the football, but with a team that doesn't have an elite-level offensive line. So I would have to, I don't know precisely where, but he's certainly one of the 5 best running backs in the league as far as a dual threat guy.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with that type of ranking. The problem is when you miss time. People start talking about other guys, and especially when you look at the Rams, how they've emerged as one of the elite teams. Todd Gurley being a key part of that. They're in Los Angeles. You look at Pittsburgh, they got a stellar franchise. So when you start looking at Zeke, he's with the Cowboys. So other teams with these dual threat running backs, they play in marquee markets or marquee franchises. That is the big difference between David Johnson and these other running backs right now.
All right, finally, John Elway is looking to address his backup quarterback situation after poor showings by Paxton Lynch. Elway says he wants to bring in a veteran arm. He was asked if Colin Kaepernick is an option for the Broncos, to which he basically said no. Take a listen.
Colin had his chance to be here. We offered him a contract. He didn't take it. So, and as I said in my deposition, and I don't know if I'm legally able to say this, but, he's had his chance to be here. He passed it.
Nick, you take a little issue with Elway's answer.
Yeah, listen, I don't take, at this point, we all know Colin Kaepernick's not going to play NFL football anymore. And that's unfortunate, but that's a reality. I don't take an issue with the Broncos not signing him now. He's been out of the league a couple years. I take an enormous issue with what Elway said there because it is an intentional effort to mislead people. It's an effort to make, what he's saying is true in technically, but not practically. Yeah, you offered Colin Kaepernick a contract before he ever kneeled. They wanted to trade for Colin Kaepernick, who had $12 million guaranteed coming from San Francisco. The Denver said, we will only trade for you if you will cut that $12 million to $8 million. He said no to that. And then he was sitting for the anthem, then kneeling for the anthem. And then after that, he was blackballed in my eyes, but certainly he was crossed off the list for Denver. Like, what John Elway is saying there is disingenuous at best and outright intentionally misleading at worst. Like, when we offered him a contract, that's a different Colin Kaepernick than the one everyone has been talking about for the last season and a half.
Yeah, they all offered Brock Osweiler a contract. Houston offered him more money. Brock was actually upset. Him and Elway went at it. They had a heated exchange. And Brock left. He was a disaster in Houston, Cleveland, anywhere else he went. He came back. They offered him another contract, and he couldn't play. So, to me, it's, John, don't play yourself, man. All right? There's a reason why they called you to Chicago for the deposition, too. All right? The collusion case don't look good. Because right now, I know how teams, when they look at roster spots, they look at who is available for every spot. They have a board. All right? It might be a little fancier now. It might be on a computer. But they have a list of players that are available today in case you get. I guarantee you Philadelphia have a list of quarterbacks in case Nick Foles, if he had a serious injury, they would have a list of guys who they would call. Colin Kaepernick is not on Denver's list because they're not trying to get the best players. All right? Eric Reed is not going to get an interview. Colin Kaepernick's not. So at this point, the Denver Broncos, tell your fans this. All right? I'm not trying to get the best players available. I'm going to get the players that match up with me and the ownership and whatever our politics are. And that's the reason why Eric Reed and Cap are not gainfully employed with the NFL team right now.
And all of the excuses that don't have to do with the kneeling that apply to Cap, stylistically, he's a quarterback, he wants to win. None of them apply to Eric Reed, and Eric Reed is just as unemployed. Like, Eric Reed's not a huge name, so we don't talk about it as much, but what's happening to Eric Reed is shameful. But one last note on this from me. Like, the laughter there, to me, was a little stomach-turning. Why did you give a deposition? Because right now there's a pending court case trying to determine whether or not the country's most popular league, its ownership, colluded to deny someone employment. That's not a laughing matter for Colin Kaepernick. That's how he was going to make his living into his late 20s and early 30s. And that door is closed to him. And to laugh and giggle about it, while you're talking about why he had his opportunity just to try to contribute to the misinformation surrounding him. I mean, I would have thought John Elway's better than that. Like, should be. He's one of the greatest players in the history of the league. He's a champion as a player and a general manager. And to laugh and giggle about that, I thought was distasteful.
Google Chad Kelly, Jim Kelly's nephew, and Google back to high school. And the trouble that he had in high school, the trouble that he had in Clemson, the trouble that he had in Ole Miss, and the trouble that he's had since he's been in the league. And he's been offered multiple contracts, and he can't play. But he's all right being on Denver's roster. I mean, so if they're cool with that, then I'm cool with it. But
Chad Kelly also moved up to number 2 on the depth chart.
Right.
Here he passed Paxton Lynch.
Right.
All right, let's move on. It is week yesterday, and what else needs to happen? Why does there need to be another meeting?
Well, I mean, these things, they do take time. And it's not going to make one bit of difference if he signed on Thursday night or if he signs on Saturday. He's not going to be there this week. All right? They have a game on Saturday. All right? So it's not going to matter until Sunday or Monday, because that's when the next week's work weeks start to build, try to get him a couple preseason games in. I think, first of all, do we want this person in the building? And I think from a conversation standpoint, if the coaching staff does not have anyone that's interacted with Dez or been